Tonight's episode is sponsored by Guitar Center. They're having Guitar-a-Thon through the 8th. That's up to 30% off on all your favorite brands, and they've got some new exclusives. Tonight, we're documenting one of their new finishes on their 60s AAA standards. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I've always enjoyed checking out these exclusives, so let's see what they've whipped up this time, because to be honest, the two stock photographies of their new colors kind of had me confused, but I opted for what they're calling Dark Cherry Sunburst. So what do you guys think? It looks like a lot of the other Sunbursts. However, I've been able to narrow it down that they get the slightly darker cherry back. But if you prefer something brighter, that's when you go for the Southern Fade finish, because it doesn't have as dark of a border and the back is brighter. This is on top of their other two older colors, Tri-Burst, as well as a Honey Lemon Burst offering within the AAA 60 standard lineup. So picking this one out, it really reminds me of some of the 80s Heritage Cherry Sunbursts, especially on a Les Paul Custom. I would love to see that become a new exclusive for them on the new 70s model, because there's something about Cherry Sunburst when it has that nice dark border that I personally love. And if you're not familiar with what AAA means, it's the grade of maple top. So you see how this one's dancing in the light? It wants to show off for you. That is a fantastic top. It's a guarantee. Now, does that mean you can't get a really nice top out of the regular ones? No, but it's luck of the draw. And if you want to skew things in your favor, that's why you go for the dealer exclusive AAAs or any of the standard AAA colors. Now, being a AAA top, that means they have a slight premium built onto them. These are $2,999 brand new. But outside of the top and color, we don't have special pickups in here. So if you love the 60s standard the way it was, you just wanted a nicer top, you've got that going for you. Looks like we have the hazing over to our pickup covers, as is common. And being a 60s standard, that means you get the reflector knobs, the thinner neck profile. Sponsored review or not, I've been on the record many of times saying the 50s and 60s standards are some of the best standards that Gibson has made in years. They're just that good. But as far as case candy here, inside our magical black bag of goodies, you get all this. Some case keys, a Gibson basic strap, the ever-cool Gibson multi-tool. And you know what? We look at these things all the time. I never explain what they are. On the first side, you get 4 different sizes of Allen keys. So in this case, on a Les Paul Standard, pretty much the only place you can use that is right here to adjust your bridge. And then you get 2 different size screwdrivers, which is nice for tightening things up. And then your other side has 3 additional Allen keys, 6 in total. You're ready for whatever size you basically need. And then you have your flat screwdriver, which would be for your pickup height adjustment screw. This pipe looking thing, that is your truss rod adjuster. So if you take that off, you can turn it to tighten or loosen. And then a lot of people get confused by this thing. They think it's just there to keep things in place. No, you gotta really zoom in there to see it. It is actually an action gauge. So that can help you do an accurate setup. It's a great freebie as a multi-tool. I usually rate it at about 7 out of 10. Otherwise, we get a nice Gibson polishing cloth, a blank truss rod cover if you would prefer it to look like this rather than that. Our pre-pack checklist, as well as warranty information in there, silica packet, and a couple of instruction manuals. But as I was pulling this stuff out, I noticed something new. Usually right here, there's a little white tag that tells you where it's made. Now it's just a black one that says Gibson. If you lift it up, you can just barely make out that it says case crafted in Costa Rica. And I feel like, oh, shock, oh my. You gotta remember, Gibson cases have pretty much never been made in America. Now I say that with an asterisk because sometimes you do get USA made TKLs, but generally it's like Canada, you get Costa Rica, they were with China for quite some time, and sometimes they still do. They source these cases all over the world. These guys make a lot of guitars, and let's just say the fit of the case is a lot better than it was like 3 or 4 years ago. But to learn more about this one, let's go ahead and throw it onto the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs before we get to a playing sample.
Watching those clouds fade away.
This top's just looking awesome over here on the workbench. It's that nice, slightly wider flame that I prefer. But let's start with our pickups. We'll look again on the outside. If you do not like this look, which personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I wish Gibson would go back to doing whatever they did before. But this has been going on for like 2 or 3 years, so that must be how they want them to look. Now that said, you can polish them and get a slightly better result. Now in my experience, that haze will come back if you put the guitar in its case for a long period of time. So I think it has something to do with off-gassing. Something in that case reacts with this, but I could be wrong. But we've got the Burstbucker Rhythm 61 in the neck position, complemented by the same style of pickup but in the lead formation, bearing the reading of 7.81 in the bridge, 7.89 in the neck, and the middle at 3.92. Always fun to see how the routes are looking. I would say the neck is actually fairly clean here. Marked DC for dark cherry sunburst. And the bridge route is also very nice and clean. The two-piece maple top joins onto our solid mahogany body. And this just stands for Les Paul Standard 60s 2025 model year. And before I put those pickups back in, it's important to note, you see that waxy residue? That's how you know they've been wax potted, so they shouldn't squeal on you. As long as you're not doing something really bad. But now bridge and tailpiece time. Typical Nashville stylings with the bushings within the body. However, they have a special ABR1 bridge that they can put on top. So you get the historic looks, but with stronger anchoring. But you do get the lightweight tailpiece done up by API. Now it's important to note these also get a patina haze to them. It's just usually not as extreme as the pickup covers. As far as our controls, got the golden reflector knobs. Called that because of the reflective toppers that they have on them. And then we do have a rounded off number pointer that's nicknamed the thumb bleeders because they used to be sharp and they would cut you. And then check this out. Our brand new pick guard actually has a protective film over it now. Sometimes you find that, sometimes you don't. Seems Gibson's going back to that. And we have our usual little felt pad right here, which is there to protect against little gouges in the top, just in case you want to be a pick guard off person. Now sometimes that little felt pad can react to the finish. I don't personally see that too badly on this example, but you can see maybe a little bit right there. And being a Les Paul Standard, that means you have a carved maple top. So in case you're not familiar, this is your first Les Paul. That means, you see how the light's dancing over top of this here? It comes down and then it goes up in this area. It's got a belly to it. That's what makes a Les Paul so attractive. As much as a guitar can be anyway. And then you get your single banded binding along the edge. But now moving on from our body, we've got that mahogany neck with a rosewood fretboard, and we've documented so many of these things, but I've got to say, this particular one, I can't say that's going to be true for the entire lineup of them, but I can't see any tooling marks on this one. Because usually when they're forming these fret nibs, you'll get small little gouges along the edge. This particular one, they must have took extra special attention to, because if I really want to get in their face, the only bad thing I could say, right here at the last fret, if you get it in the light just right, you can see a small mark from their file. Right there at the edge, but it's so minor, you really got to be looking for that. I do feel the shine of the frets could be better for a factory sealed unit, but I bet it's similar to the whole pickup situation. Whatever's causing that could be causing these to prematurely dull. Now, they're not bad by any means. It's a quality fret wire. You can polish them up as much as you want. But I'd love to see Gibsons come with mirror shine stock. But we get a 1.71 inch nut width. That increases to 2.08 at the 12th. Pretty skinny, 0.79 first fret neck depth. And wow, 0.9 even at the 12th. With that tried and true 24 3/4 inch scale and 12 inch upward radius. Moving on to the face of the headstock, in our typical standard fashion, you get a mother-of-pearl Gibson logo with your silk-screened Les Paul model right there. And the 60s model utilizes Grover tuners. If you want the Clusons, you gotta go for the 50s or replace them. But now we'll look at our stock truss rod cover. It's 2-ply material, white and black, says standard on it, and secures with 2 screws, and this is that truss rod I was talking about earlier. You can also see through to the bare mahogany without any finish on it. But now that we've got the strings back on, let's feel our neck. It seems the 60s Les Paul Standard is one of the highest selling ones for Gibson. It just means it has a thinner neck profile. Whereas 50s, it's only a little bit more rounded. You really have to step up to the custom shop to get the super big chunky baseball necks. Baseball bat, that is. If you like a slimmer neck profile that's still a rounded C, you're going to enjoy this. Here's a look at that neck profile on the contour gauge, 1st and 12th fret. But now moving on to the backside. This is a 2-piece mahogany body. So even though I said it's solid, that just means there's no 9-hole weight relief, ultra modern, chambering, anything like that. This is one where if I was looking at this during the demo shop recaps or something, I'd be like, you know what, that one's got some interesting squiggles and V shapes in there. but that seam line runs straight up the center there. Sometimes you can see a small lacquer line where they join. You can just vaguely see that on this one right there. But with our backplate removed, here's what you're working with. Regular Gibson branded pots. Got your orange drop capacitors, all hand wired. Looks pretty good in here. Outside of our frilly, beardy guys over there. But man, that really stinks. It's just that area and a few little spriggles right there that keep this route from being super expertly done. Even our toggle switch route's looking pretty nice. But if we jump over here, we have the thin binding in the cutaway. So what that means, if you look closely, you can see the maple cap exposed right there. Les Paul guys love that. That is not a defect. Otherwise, just our usual stuff over here. But you know what? From the stock photography, I was really expecting this back to be a lot darker than it is. So I guess if you were scared of it being too dark, I wouldn't worry about it. But hey, maybe the next batch they could spray it even darker. That would be my suggestion. Make it super dark, closer to the aniline dyes of the custom shop. But our neck comes up here to our headstock. That's all one piece of mahogany. And here you can see the backside of your Grover tuners. And this one dates to 2025, 125th day of the year. Initial batch production number 250. So that means it was the 251st neck stamped that day. Because there is a 000. With everything back installed now, taking another deep look at it, the only other thing I saw that I would classify as a blemish, there is a very small dip in the finish right here. There might have been a contamination or something. Is it a big deal? No. But hey, we're doing a quality control analysis. That's why I point that stuff out. And I guess if you really want to get in their face, they could have scraped the binding a little bit more right there. You can see where the cherry ran up over it. But all things considered, I've documented so many Gibsons, I can confidently say this one is definitely in the upper echelons of what I've seen from them. But again, remember, this is just a spot check. I can't document every single one from this run. But this particular one, that's a good weight. 8 pounds, 10 ounces. No wonder this thing feels so nice. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. So there we go, the new Guitar Center Dark Cherry Sunburst AAA top. What are my final thoughts on this one? I really enjoyed it. It's got that very characteristic burst look to it, and it just sounds phenomenal. Like, I've documented quite a few 60s standards, but I don't remember one being so raunchy. Now, it could just be the guitar, because it is a very nice lightweight example. However, a couple of days ago, I had a guitar that was malfunctioning, and I had to really crank my amp up, so I wonder if I just broke my speaker in a little bit more, and that's part of the reason. But I've got to say, this thing sounded fantastic through my Marshall Blues Breaker today. So if you are interested in one of these, feel free to use my Guitar Center affiliate links that you can find in the description. It doesn't have to be for this guitar. You could buy strings or anything. That helps Guitar Center know that, hey, sending guitars to Trogly for review and documentation is a good thing, and it'll keep happening. Because I have been enjoying documenting the Guitar Center exclusives and letting you guys know about their deals. Like, I think my favorite thing about this particular Guitar-a-Thon is if you buy a pickup from them, you can take it to the store and they'll install it for you. So if you're buying an Epiphone or something, or say you want a Dirty Fingers or some Seymour Duncan in here because you didn't like whatever the stock pickup is in the guitar, that's something you can do for a few more days only. But all right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed checking this one out with me today, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.